Attention. It was based on a collaboration I was doing with Kelly Waters from the middle school. She was having the kids read about Frank's diary, and I said, gee, would you want the kids to experience that a little deeper? And she said, how? I said, well, maybe I could do some visuals. So I decided, I went back to the computer, I started looking things up about Anne Frank, and this was the first image I saw of Anne. This face in here. And I didn't have these boards. They weren't a part of the project at all. And I had taken this big piece of paper. I'll tell you exactly how it all happened, why there's tape. I had taken that big piece of paper, put it up on the Promethean so I could have a big space to draw on. And I loved the paper. It was heavy. It was just right. The texture felt good. And it was ripped on top. And I got really annoyed. I said, every time I like something, something ruins it, you know? So I went to the closet. I got a piece of tape. And I taped the top of it. I just have to show you this. Okay. So I tape the top of it right here. So I'm going like this. I tape it, and I go, wow, that tape really looks good. So I just saw the tape as an artistic element, as opposed to helping out a ripped torn piece of paper. So then I started going crazy. Of course, I had this kind of sketched in a little, and I start taping like crazy, and I'm putting all this tape on here. And I'm using the tape as drawing lines. I'm serious, that's what I was doing. And I was like drawing with the tape, putting it down, and where you don't see tape, there was tape. And so then the tape was okay, and I said, I had too much tape. And I just started to smear it, and then I pulled the tape off, and then I liked that because the surface looked scarred and beaten, and there was a certain punishing quality to the image. And that's exactly what I wanted. So then I started to think, gee, maybe I should leave the tape built up over here and give it a texture and an edginess that I never did before. So I did that, and I showed Mrs. Waters, and she loved it. So then I did several others. I did about 3 or 4 others. There's 2 out in the hall, if you walk around. And then I moved into, I'll close that up for a minute. Then I moved in, so I wanted to do something different. So then I moved into this thing here. I started to think about Anne writing. And I ripped out this 3-foot by 8-foot piece of paper, put it up on these boards, and I started going crazy with the tape again. And I started drawing on it. You can see what I did, you know. Sometimes when it got too dark, I put new tape on, so I had light tape against dark tape. And I started to build this thing, and the tape for me was a symbol of the bondage, of the confinement. So I thought that really worked, and it was different. And I don't care if the tape curls up. I mean, nothing's forever. So, to think she had a life of only 13 years. So, who cares if the tape curls up? So I did this thing of like, she's larger than the piece of paper. You know, do you see her arms coming in here?
Yeah.
Okay. See, so there's this one arm, this other arm, there's this line. I started reading about her, and I started, looking at the passages that she wrote, and they were just so profound. For a 13-year-old. And then there was a line that said, I can feel the suffering of millions. And I thought that was an incredible statement. And then it reminded me of something Frederick Douglass had said, that an artist must choose to fight for freedom or for slavery. So that's the only way an artist can really fight. An artist shouldn't be picking up a machine gun and mowing people down. You should be using your skill, right? You should be using your stuff. So it's images that stay with people. I mean, that's the most powerful language in the world. Rembrandt's images, Da Vinci's images, Michelangelo, right? I mean, those are the images that stay with you. So then I did this one. She's writing, and then there's this little attic scene here of 2 people confined. And I just quickly threw that in. I didn't care what it looked like. I don't care what things look like anymore. I used to really care what things look like. I used to go crazy, right? But I've been doing this so long, I'm like, give a crap what it looks like. I got 40 years behind me, and what goes down, goes down. That's how I feel. Let's not make no excuses for it. I'm not apologizing. Looks good, doesn't look good. Okay, so what? Not everything looks great in nature, but it's beautiful. So then I went from here, and the bricks weren't up there yet, so don't even look at the bricks. Okay, they came, I gotta explain them later. So then I came over here. You want to walk down here? I want you to see this. Okay, and I did this piece. I wanted to do something about the torture of what the Nazis were doing was they were torturing college students who would not agree to the Nazi program in Germany at the time. And they would abduct them and put them through all kinds of punishment and sometimes death. So I drew this figure. I just wanted it to be an uncomfortable thing. Once again, I don't care what it looked like. I put a leg here, an arm there, a head, you know, totally strained in an awkward position. But they did that to people. They tied them and hung them in these unusually painful ways. And I taped it around. I kind of squared it off. I gave it a confinement. And then I did this figure here, kneeling. Can you see the figure? Yeah. Okay. And then I did this little kind of like taped up this geometric cell, cubic cell, which they pushed people into situations, just pushing them to the edge. Some of them cracked and some did. Okay, and I was kind of happy with that. And then I brought Mrs. Waters in again, and she was really surprised. And I said, gee, you know, we're really going to fill your room up with this stuff, really good. So, but the bricks weren't there. None of these panels were there. Okay, and then I did these two, the red and the black. So, Ed Frank, portrait in red. Now, this is what happens in art. And art is an amazing experience if you're an artist, if you're an art teacher, because there's surprises every day. It's like going deep sea fishing. Sometimes you get yourself a big catch, you know, sometimes you really reel it in. And I just took these 4 sheets of paper, I taped them together, and I wanted to do the face, but I wanted to do stuff in color. Okay, I wanted something different. And when it was done, there was something about it I liked, but I didn't see it until I walked back. And it has like a silkscreen feeling, like a Warhol kind of feeling. The way he did things, he sectioned them, and it has that rapid thing to it, like it just happened. And then it's got a little Mona Lisa plot. I'm not saying I'm Da Vinci. I'm not caring about that. I'm just saying that there's a quality to the expression of the face, the portraiture of it. And I felt it combined modern and past, you know, in a very interesting way. So I was very happy with that piece. And then I did the black on black. Then I thought of doing, I was reading also, I'm here with Mrs. D'Angelo, the high school English teacher, and she says, I love teaching kids about the Holocaust. Where's Miss D'Angelo? Hi, Amanda. Okay, and she says, I love teaching kids about the Holocaust, so I took the book tonight and I read it again. And I thought, gee, it would be interesting to have pictures of the selection. Now, has anybody read Night here? Okay.
In high school, of course.
Okay, right, okay. So, Night is a story about Elie Wiesel's, Elie Wiesel's survival experience of these camps at a very, very young age. And he spoke about the selection, where at certain times of the month or the year, they would line up their prisoners, and the guards or the doctors would have these people walk toward them, and they would decide, by looking at them, if they deserved to live or not. They would point either to the right or to the left. And if you were lucky, you got pointed in the direction of life. Some people got pointed that day, and they were sent to the office. So I tried to put the hands in the picture. Okay, now it could be the hand of anything. It could be the hand of a traffic cop. I mean, you know, you could see what you want. I just described selection here, and I saw it as hiding part of the face, okay, hiding, and you filling in the rest. If something's hidden, what's beautiful about art, what makes art beautiful and powerful is what it doesn't say. Okay, so if you want everything to be explicit and you want everything to be spelled out, that's television. Okay? If you want it to leave you with a meaning, an openness, something you can, that resonates in you, that's art, and it leaves you with a sense of mystery. Okay, and that's what I like. So I kind of blocked things out. I left things unfinished so that you can see that. There's a piece about bondage. This here is a piece of that I tried to do a painting of Anne using tape on her face towards the end when she knew she was captured and she knew she was going to die. Okay, so I tried to use the tape very, very vigorously here and tight. I tried to create like that knotted, tense, psychological, I don't know if I can make it through another hour experience. I'm not saying I succeeded, I just tried to do that. Okay? So I did another one here, less so. These are studies of the chimneys, the stacks from which human beings return to ash, crematorium. In this piece, I tried to paint the experience of death. When death comes over you, has anybody read The Book Thief? Book Thief is an awesome book. You have to read it, all you young people. You really do have to read The Book Thief. There's this image, there's this person or thing that goes around, this thief that steals or takes the souls of people. He doesn't like his job, but death comes to certain people every day, and it's his job to collect these souls. And the souls have a scent to them, a scent of flowers, and it's a very, very powerful thing. And you really feel sorry for death, that he's got to do this job, you know? So I kind of put a little of the experience. Can you see this image here? It kind of looks a little bit like it's flight or bird. Okay, then I went over and I did this painting. Now, before I get into that painting, you have to put it's like a commercial. I was going to say Frank Sinatra. Frank Costello comes to me and he says to me, Doug, we're doing West Side Story. I need bricks for tenement buildings. We're doing whole tenement buildings. I just want worn brick, beaten brick. So I go, oh, I said, I don't know, I never did brick. So he says, well, we kind of need a lot of it. So I said, well, why don't you just get me a panel, I'll try it out, you know. So I said, how many panels are we looking at? He goes, I don't know, maybe we made 23. That's a lot. 4-foot by 8-foot panels, that's a lot, you know. So I tried the first one. The first one took me about 4 hours to do. It's like, I don't know, 26 of these. You know, this is like, it's going to be my Sistine ceiling, right? So, Sistine wall. The Sistine wall. So, about the fifth one in, the fifth panel, I got a technique down. It was very cool. I'll show you how I did it. I'll tell you how I did it. Come on over. Okay, so this is what I did. I would take these panels, okay, and I would just throw color all over them. That was a lot of fun. And anybody here would have fun doing that. Okay? So I had a big brush, I just threw, you know, reds, greens, browns, grays, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of took a squeegee. Anybody do silk screening? You get these squeegees, like you clean, you know, you squeegee the water out, the flooding out. Okay, so you get a squeegee, and I just smeared the paint. It was really drying fast on the vinyl. They call these chloroplast boards, if you're interested. They're awesome to paint on. And I just squeegeed the whole thing. So I get these interesting weather smears. That's what happened. I just got the weather smear. It was a freak. It just worked. So then I said, gee, okay, now I got a T-square. I did all my mortar lines. And every time I put 3 or 4 mortar lines, I get the squeegee and smear it. So it looks like, you know that stain? You know, after years, the water, the snow, the heat, it makes all the pigment of the concrete, you know, it just runs down the brick. And the brick starts to tell a little beautiful story of color, right? So that's what I started doing. And every time I did that, I started smearing it. Then I'd pop it in with some brick colors here and there. And you know, up close, it's nothing. It looks like just brushwork. But so does Franz Hall's work look like just brushwork. Then you step back, and wow, that wall talks to me, you know. So I said, okay, so I went from 4 hours, 5 hours, I started doing these in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Well, that's doable. So I did the last 15 panels, the last 17 panels, every hour, hour and a half, I had a panel done, which I really got psyched about. So then I started putting things in like this. I turned them this way so the bricks went in opposite directions. And then I realized, wow, these really look like the Warsaw Ghetto. So now I take this out and I go, let me start to put these walls around these drawings. Isn't that how life happens? You know, like a tree grows up in the backyard, you don't know the seed was in the ground, and suddenly you go, hey, I like that tree. Right? That's what happens. So that's what happened. That's it. I was very happy. I really felt like I felt like the mystery found me and I found the mystery.
It works.
You know? And there's, I mean, these are not pieces people would, hey, I'd like that for my living room. Of course not, I get it, you know. But this is an educational exhibit.
Some people, this one. No. 50 Shades.
So, I thought, gee, there's something powerful, and there's a message, and there's a magic about this. And then I thought, which was untouchable, you have to follow me to the front. Okay, this was untouchable. Okay, so I did that one the same way. And with this, I thought this picture was good by itself. And I said, wow, you know, art is about risk. And this year I lost about 4 or 5 paintings that were great, but because I pushed it a little too far, I lost the paintings, and there was a couple of weeks I couldn't sleep. Marilyn didn't know that, but there was a couple of weeks I couldn't sleep. Just laying there, really PO'd. Who the hell do I think I am? You know, lost the great image, you know. Okay, so I had to deal with that. So when I said, hey, you know, I lost great images. I might as well take a chance with this. Who cares? Right? Once again, who cares? So I take these panels that were done for West Side Story. It was like synchronicity. Everything was, I felt like angels were around me. They go, here, Doug, use this now. Here, Doug, use this now. So I put them together, and first it was just like this, you know, and I put a face in here on the wall. I don't know if you can see it. There's like a subliminal face, image of a part eyes, part nose. Okay, and I put this here, and I said, gee, that really looks like Anne is stuck between 2 giant brick book covers. She writes books. I mean, she wrote a book. So this was like a giant book cover for me. Then we had this panel here, and I thought, gee, wouldn't it be interesting to put a window there and create a confinement? So, I mean, because if you read anything in her diary, if you saw the space she lived in, it was incredibly claustrophobic. Right? Does anybody know about this, or am I just giving this to you the first time?
Yeah, other people living in her house.
Yeah, there was no privacy. I mean, it was just an invasion of any idea of intimacy was dead. You know, so your whole life was public. And I just thought, wow. Now from here, these people are looking at Anne's face, and there's this oblique view of her face, which I think is really haunting, and she really looks like claustrophobically squished. Whereas if you come over here, you know, you see her face, and there's the fullness here, but it's like sunken into the brick. So I thought this portal really worked. So I thought this was the centerpiece of the show. That's just my personal point of view. Now I just must tell you about this here. This is a floor installation. I never did one before, but I had read something that I want to read to you about that, because in the book they were telling us about the German history, and there's this Jewish rabbi prophet from the 15th century, Heinrich Heine, H-E-I-N-E, if you're interested. He said, whenever books are burned, human beings are destined to be burned too. Okay, so you should all think about that. Okay, whenever people, whenever an institution or a government burns books, people are next. Okay, and that's a very powerful thing, and I think you should want to know that, particularly young people who are going to have families, because we got some crazy people out there. And then Wiesel said in the book Night, he said, the words hunger, thirst, fear, transport, selection, fire, and chimney had intrinsic meaning. But in the times in which he grew up, in Nazi Germany, those words meant something else. And here was Hitler and his boys. They were bent on replacing art and beauty and enlightenment with thirst, with hunger, fear, death, brutality, and extinction. That's what this is about. That's what this piece is, the burning of the books. You have the 7 words that Wiesel's expressed. I've got Anne Frank's face done lighter and lighter each time, so there's just a circle for her eye. And I wanted you to read this. I want to read this to you about the brown shirts, okay? In 1933, brown shirt stormtroopers with German students from universities, once regarded as among the finest in the world, gathered in Berlin to burn books with un-German ideas. They tossed heaps of books, 20,000 volumes, into a bonfire while giving Hitler arm salutes and singing Nazi anthems. Among the volumes of the writings were Einstein, Sigmund Freud, Ernest Hemingway, Helen Keller, Jack London, Thomas Mann, Karl Marx, Upton Sinclair, Margaret Mead, H.G. Wells, Emile Zola. Hitler was replacing beauty, enlightenment, and art, and our highest ideals and virtues with hunger, fear, death, and extinction. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about, then I'm going to introduce some kids. They're going to read some passages from a book for you, is in this piece over here, where I started working with the brick walls and the swans. Emily Dickinson tells us that hope is a thing with feathers. Did anybody ever read that by Emily Dickinson? Isn't that beautiful? I mean, see now, that's an image you could take with you the rest of your life. You can fight entire nations with those ideas. Like, they can't erase those ideas from you. They can imprison you, but that idea can stay in you. Hope is a thing with feathers. So I painted this, I took this, I had extra panels now of brick, that the play was over, and I had this brick. I told Frank, I'm taking the panels, you know. So I said, let me do something opposite. So I did these images of swans in flight. Well, I tried to do swans. But it doesn't really matter if it was a swan. I just wanted to get the sense of flight. I wanted to get those brush marks. And then I took my squeegee, I put the paint on there, I hit it with the squeegee, and it's like the swan merged with the brick. And you don't know if it's coming through the brick, you know, when the bodies were being burned and there was all those ash and smoke. I mean, like you see here, if you stare at this painting of the pipe stack, you will see there's faces in there. Now, I didn't do that. That was just part of the process. I'm not going to take credit for that, but happened on my drawing, so I'm happy with that. You know? And hope is a thing with feathers. So that's what I wanted to get here. And the last thing here, this painting, I had another thing with the brick. I had an urge to do something with flight. So I did those brush marks up there. They're not perfectly birds, but I stepped back. And you know what happened? Take a look at the space between the two birds. The negative space looks like a bird. Okay? This is the negative space, you see it? Beak. That's what the painting's about. That's the spirit. That's, to me, anyway, you know. So I was satisfied with that. So, before we move on to the, you know, the high school kids, anybody have any questions?
How long?
What's that? You want to buy everything? Oh, good.
When did you start the project? How long?
Okay, so this was in the making since November. I started over there in late October, early November. And I started working these, you know, I started going down on, well, I was working Saturdays and weeknights to help Frank with the bricks. And I was really excited about the bricks. And then when I saw them as a way of completing the, and Frank and the Wiesel idea, I thought, my God, this is really magnificent for me, you know, like, to express it. So I thought, and you know, this is an educational exhibit. This is for kids to think about literature and the power of the mind and the power of the spirit and how you can actually change the world, not with a gun, not with a bullet, not with violence, but you can actually change it with the power of your creative spirit, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Help you guys out. I'm a good selfish too. I'm trying to help myself out too. So I just want to read something to you by Elie Wiesel before I give it to the girls. Never shall I forget the nocturnal silence that deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to dust. However, the only way to stop the next Holocaust is to remember the last one. If the Jews were singled out then, the next one, we are all the victims. That's what we should remember. Okay, so I'm going to call up some of the kids.